Was too greedy and went for the pro VC thing here. Replace 2 Arvin with 2 VC, but get themselves 4 patronage. I hope I remembered. I must not have. This is up by 4. I added there and not there, which is probably what I've done other times. And that's going to get corrected if I don't do it. They were up here in the 51 box, but then the VC did a combination of rally, spent some resources, and you can see they've got more pieces on the board now that they spent for it. They also subverted for their bonus because it was an event that Arvin used in order to grab an extra piece. The other option was tax, and they really don't want to reduce the places where they have, for the most part, any guerrillas are places that they like. They don't really want to reduce that value. That's a value that's important for them. And our new card, and the US is going to get first. No, sorry. The VC is going to get first. The NVA is going to get first shot at a nom. This is Aces. Robin Olds ambushes Migs. Free airstrike. This has a counter, I think. Free airstrike, any one space outside the south, degrading 2 trail boxes. Ooh, too bad there's only 1. And MiG Ace Carnal-Toom. 2 available U.S. troops go to casualties, and you improve the trail by 2 bases. I swear there was one for this. Maybe I'm thinking Top Gun. I bet you that's it. Arc light? Cool. Now, this went down because they lost coin control of that space. So it dropped from 51 down. But because of the kind of higher population areas, the rally was able to get bases plus the population, and in some cases that was kind of valuable. Don't know who's doing what yet. I'll come back. The NVA takes the Anam event, which is kind of cool because he's able to remove support from Hue and Da Nang in an adjacent province. Well, I didn't have an adjacent province, but by doing that I dropped the support for the US side down, and then the US got a double turn. I only did half of that. I gotta come back and do the rest. They did a training action to reduce the patronage, and they also, no pacification on this, they also did that was some of the forces they built here in Saigon. And they also built up some other places. Now this one built their control back up, so it boosted it back after dropping it, but I feel like I need more forces here to protect against those VCs. So everything's kind of in this weird sort of stalemate. I gotta decide what special activity I want though. Airstrikes are obviously useless. Airlift is probably pretty useless. So what about advise? I can sweep in place or assault with Arvin. I'm assuming, yeah, that's going to be, in either case it's with Arvin. So I get to take 2 spaces that I didn't train. Now I trained here and here, so I'm going to have to do a sweep, I guess, with Arvin, and I think those are going to have to be troops that do that. I'm not sure there's anywhere I can do this that's useful. I mean, there just aren't that many places. And airstrikes are not going to help me. I haven't detected anything. Or activate an underground ranger or a regular to remove 2 enemy pieces. Do I have rangers or irregulars anywhere useful? Not really. I do here, but I can't do that there. Oh. Yeah. So I guess I'm going to redistribute troops here and try to figure out where I can best do them. That's U.S. troops and up to 4 irregulars, Ranger, or Arvin troops. among selected spaces. I don't know quite what I'm going to do there, but I can do them any 4 spaces on the board. Well, the Aces card seems like the perfect time to do this Vietnamization. So we will trump in with it. Get rid of this event because it's gone now. And we do, let's see, mechanization, plus 12 Arvin resources. That puts this up to 60. And I cheated because I had kind of done some stuff with the VC and then decided, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Okay, 12 resources, 12 more aid. That's going to be big income next time. That's big. All out of play Arvin are available, and 4 of them can go anywhere. 4 cubes in particular. And I'm not quite sure what to do with those, but that triggers an event. VC slip into these 2 cities and do a subversion. It costs them a couple points to move in there. Now they've taken the controls away, which reduces their points there, the Arvin points there, and it also sets us up so we're kind of interfering with Arvin's money on the economy if it comes around to that, to an issue of that next turn. Maybe not a huge deal, but trying to break that up and sabotage the roadways just by occupying cities seems like a valuable action compared to trying to take some of the actual broader terrain areas of the game. And we'll swing these into play. We have domino theory coming up. It looks to me like US gets first shot at this, and they may be very interested in this because they can pull some of their out-of-play pieces into available, which boosts their own points. Of course, giving up a first shot might be painful too. And then Nguyen Hu Tho, party control of NLF, draws anti-communist reaction. Shift cities with VC level 1 towards active support. Well, nothing's in that place right now. By the way, I was able to slip into these without being noticed because there's no support in them. There's enough opposition that, my guerrillas just kind of fade into that. That doesn't sound too good. The NLF leader place a VC base and VC guerrilla in Saigon and stay eligible. This is a powerful event. The VC is very interested in that event to get themselves into place here and not lose a turn for, inserting themselves somewhere. That's very appealing. Even if they get shot out of there, it'll be of some value. By the way, I think the VC can tunnel in the cities. I'm not sure. We'll have to see when the tunneling cards come up what they allow. But, yeah. Okay, lots of stuff going on here. Domino theory played for the event that allowed the U.S. to increase its available units by pulling them out of the out-of-play box. And it was something I couldn't refuse, but it did allow the NVA to take an action. Now they spend all their money building up using a rally action, improving the trail, and then infiltrate to bring their troops up. Now they have enough troops that they're able to play their pivotal event. The problem is there's a lot of time needed here. I may not want to launch right away. I may want to be doing some passes or something else to get my cash up. I have no money. That's one of the real difficulties here is I just don't have a very strong position here. And if I launch this Easter offensive, what's going to happen? Well, I'm not going to be in a position to really capitalize on it without any cash, right? The way I'm going to need to get my cash added up is to build more bases. And in fact, I believe only in Laos and Cambodia do I get money for, and by upping the trail. Neither of those are things I can do with just forces, and there's not really... I could take actions and not do anything with them and just use my special action to infiltrate, which would allow me to convert VCs with NVA, and that would get me more pieces on the board. But at this point, that doesn't seem terribly... I don't see a strategy forward with that. I'm just not seeing the Easter offensive coming down to something I want to do. Anyway, so although I set up to be able to do it, now we have this guy who is... Well, the VC are going to have the first shot at this, which gets them into Saigon and keeps them eligible. I think they're almost certain to take that event, even though it gives Arvin the full boat over on their side. And then the Honolulu Conference, uneasy allies. Aid can be switched either way. Patronage can be switched either way. Wow, you know what? I think Arvin's going to be passing, so they get a shot at this, because they want that patronage to +3, and they'd also like to add to the aid. If insurgent executing, that faction remains eligible. Well, we don't want that to happen. So yeah, let's just take this one, because this is going to be an easy action to do straight off the bat. Shift each city. Okay, place a VC base and VC guerrilla in Saigon, state eligible. What did that just do? That increased bases by 1. If I'm eligible, I'm going to put myself over on the card or something to remind me. Now, this guy is just going to pass for his 3 resources because he wants that one, that card. And that means everybody's in the game for the conferences. Not that everybody gets a shot at them. CIDG, Civilian Irregular Defense Groups. Replace a die roll of VC guerrillas in South Vietnam with Rangers, Irregulars, or Police. Ooh, that's kind of sweet, too. The U.S. isn't going to get a shot at this, though, and we know Arvin's going to grab the next one. Desertions and defections. Replace all Rangers, Police, and Irregulars in a Highland space with 2 VC guerrillas total. What's Highland? Highland is the brown stuff, and there's some places where there are a lot of troops, a lot of irregulars and police, etc. I guess that one's going to get triggered. So the U.S. probably wants to use Honolulu Conference for its action. Well, I'm on kind of a roll. I'm going to just keep going, but I'm going to pull away a little bit. I didn't bother reading aloud. Arvin also has an ability to pacify, as if it's in the end of turn era stage, the coup card stage for support or whatever. And there's lots of places where pacification could be done, but not where Arvin wants to buy Arvin. So for example, here I would love to do it because I could get the active opposition down, and I've got troops and police, but these are U.S. troops. I can't trigger it, and only Arvin can trigger it. Only the faction can do the pacification. I look here, same thing here. We're all set up for pacification, and where I can pacify, places like this, it's already neutral. I don't want to raise support. I don't want to help the U.S. here. They're doing well enough. So, our second choice is the U.S. They're not going to get a shot next time, so I got to figure out what to do with them. The U.S. continued harassing the VC here, and then through here they swept through and launched airstrikes. The opposition doesn't go up because it's as high as it can go. And our next card is Daft Dodgers. If fewer than 3 casualty pieces, U.S. troops from out of play move to 3 U.S. troops from out of play move to available. That's kind of nice. Otherwise, recruitment sags move 1 U.S. troop per casualty piece to a maximum of 3 from available to out of play. Well, this is something that maybe tempts the offensive, to tell you the truth, because I might be able to cause U.S. casualties, thus cause the draft dodgers, thus cause more problems for the U.S. as a whole, which I would view as overall advantageous. The question, though, is what is happening with CIDG here? Son of a bitch. I got the wrong guy into place here. That should have been the U.S. there. U.S. should be blue, right? So the VC have the first shot at this. And they obviously kind of like this. Replace all Rangers, police, and irregulars in a highland space with 2 VC guerrillas. That can get them a good build up here. The NVA doesn't really care too much about the VC's likings, though. So I think they're going to fire off their Easter offensive to try to activate the draft dodgers. This should hurt the coin total controlled areas as well. And we're going to get NVA free marches, I guess, everywhere. We just don't have to pay them. Then NVA troops on LOCs with no US or ARVN can move another space. Then all NVA troops get a free attack. So be able to kill 1 per 2. Activate all NVA guerrillas to roll as well. So my goal is to get at least 3 U.S. casualties in here to affect the draft dodgers. Convince the VC to pass so that they can screw the U.S. over more. That's actually... wow, that's actually a problem because I'm trumping something they kind of want to do. Let's see if I can convince them of this, because I'm not sure this is totally in their favor. Yeah, they're willing to play along. That'll get them a resource for passing and then this. The problem, of course, is the deck is running down, but they're also going to screw one of these 2 guys out of an operation by doing this pass and then play on the next. And that's kind of a neat factor about some of the cards, is you can look at them and say, I boned someone by doing this. Now it's the U.S. who gets boned on this one. ARVN's going to get a shot at operating. But yeah, we're going to trump in with our Easter offensive, and let's see what I can manage with that sucker. Okay, so now I didn't too much use the march capabilities. For example, in Laos and Cambodia, you can march again after you march. Which means I could just swing anywhere down the trail. I didn't use too much of that. I covered each of my bases with 1 insurgent, just to make sure that my bases aren't going to just disappear. Because one of the big worries is that the U.S. will just bomb the shit out of my bases. And as long as they don't know where the insurgents are, they can't find the base either. Let's start. I'm kind of going big here for points as well as destruction. Yeah, it's going to be tough to recover from these things, though. It always is. This is going to be so much less involved, obviously, than the old Victory Games game of it. But it looks like it might be pretty impressive. Okay, so the first thing we do is attack. Each pair of these can kill something. And I can kill, what, 1 enemy, but I've got to do the bases last. The U.S. goes to casualties. There aren't any U.S. casualties. I'm going to kill a ARVN troop because they seem to be outweighed there. I set myself up wrong for this, but we'll see if I get control anyway. Actually, I have control right now. I don't take any losses because those aren't US. And then these I can reveal, and I will. And on a 1 or a 2, they end up destroying 2 enemies. And I just figure there's going to be enough to hit. Oh, well. There's going to be enough to hit that I might as well risk everything. Here I get 2 hits. One of them is going to be a US casualty. I have to take a loss in response to that. The other one's just going to be one of these Arvin police. Let's try to keep track of the changes as they happen, or else put some kind of marker to remind me where the fighting's at. And I'm going to have to do them as they happen. Okay, so here I've got 4 NVA. It's no longer coin control. That's 2 points down from coin. And I'll tell you, it's NVA control, which means it's 2 points for NVA control. Same thing here. It's going to be a 2-point swing. Yeah. There goes Arvin's control of everything. Yeah, I was thinking about an attack in the center here, but that didn't seem... Alright, here's a big one. So, I got 2 shots to begin with. I'm going to kill off a couple of troops because they're easy to kill to get rid of 2 US units. Then these, and this is kind of a high-risk operation, but it's an offensive. It's just wave tactics, right? I need a 1 through 3 to succeed. I'm not going to get the base out of there. I succeed. I'll take out 2 of these police. And we've converted control again, haven't we? So that's 2 more Arvin control. Goes to NVA. Up here, you know, I'm willing to trade troops for US stuff. This leaves coin control, but that's it. I don't get that one. Over here, I don't know why I did this attack. If I had bunched these guys in here, let's say I marched them here because they were probably from up here, 1, 2. I'm allowed to march through Cambodia and Laos for free. I could have killed this too, and that'll get me 2 points for control. I don't know how much that control is going to be useful, but that's okay. Over here it's going to be weaker. I'm going to kill off one of my units to destroy another US, and now again I'm not going to be able to take out those US bases, and I am really kind of expending everything on this. The NVA was so destroyed by the Easter offensive, and then even worse by the Tet offensive. On a 1 through 4 we hit. I'm not allowed to do the clever ambushes or anything like that. Hey, we do. I get 2 hits. I'll take that on Bliss. And now I think we took control. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we didn't, but we take it away from the coin, obviously. There's VC in there. The VC don't help me. They actually hinder my ability to control an area. But that was the event. And get rid of the Easter offensive for now. The VC have agreed to pass so that they get their event in play. General Lansdale. Set a spaces outside Saigon with US or Arvin to active support. Add a terror marker there. Kane? Patronage +1. Bureaucratic infighter. Patronage +3. No US assault until coup. On the other hand, wow, we'd like some patronage, wouldn't we? The problem with that is we've lost so much ground at this point. Maybe we can't afford to strip the U.S. of their assault capability. Not that they've been really using that much. They've been using airstrikes. Airstrikes are really cool. They're clean, right? Well, they're not going to work so much. They'll work here, but they're not going to work so much in areas where the public's already in support. All right. Well, the VC want to take the first turn, and the U.S. can't risk that with the draft dodgers out there with the pile here. So we're going to play our linebacker 2 event, I think. Maybe not. RVN leader box and support plus available greater than 40. I think it is. Support hasn't been moving at all, so that should be correct. So we're going to dump this sucker. And everything except Tet's been played. Yay! That makes life easier. I gotta remember these. Now these are VC capabilities. Each sweep space. See, now I've been forgetting to do this. And this is the problem with these damn capabilities and momentum cards, is I can't remember I have them. Yes, there's a reminder here. This is me, you know, but it's also the complicated game design. Now that's why there are reminders in the game, but man, VC deter, VC rally in one space where VC already had a base. May agitate. Yeah, I don't know if I did that. I think I missed that when I did the their growth. NVA removes 2 bases, and that's going to be especially telling in games where a person who has a lot of these capabilities is dense or slow, like me. NVA removes 2 bases. Resources -15, ineligible through the next card. 6 casualty or 3 US out of play to available. And this is why I'm doing it, because I get these back. NVA removes 2 bases. North Vietnamese Army. I'll get rid of this one. I'm assuming the USA is removing these, not the NVA, but I don't know. Let's see how this is worded, because maybe they can choose which ones to take and which ones not. This is card 121. See, this is the kind of thing that gets in your way, though. You know, it doesn't tell me. You know, it says NVA removes 2 bases, not US removes 2 NVA bases. I'm going to assume the NVA gets the choice here, and we're going to remove these 2 bases. And that drops their value. Okay. Resources down 15. Well, yeah, that's not going to happen. I assume it's NVA resources. Ineligible through next card. I've got a way to mark that, don't I? I seem to remember there was something to do that with. I don't know how to mark this, because I'm in a place where next card I would normally be active. I'm not going to have that, so that's what I'm going to put there. I'm going to keep myself in the ineligible box, I guess. 6 casualties or 3 US become available. So I add 3, and these don't really help, to here. And now the US is doing quite well. Okay. And they took their event. Jesus. That means we could go with Arvin, but Arvin likes their card. Set a space outside Saigon with the US or Arvin to active support. Add a terror marker there to get patronage. You know, I don't know if that's all that worth it. Preventing a VC action seems more worth it. So I'll try to figure out what Arvin wants to do with their action, because they get a full action off this. And Arvin's being dicky. They did training operations, which got them control of these 2 cities. This is the problem with invading cities. Is Arvin can just raise up troops in them, even if they don't have coin control there. Now, I've got problems like this U.S. base here. This thing's actually in a lot of danger. One other thing I was because I can't raise troops there because it's NVA control. One other thing I was contemplating was these Arvin forces here was making a base there, but then I'd lose control of that area, which I kind of don't want to have happen. But I may not have to actually concede to that. There were some weaknesses. I could have done some sort of offensive to hit some of these NVA units. That probably would have been wiser. Been screwing up so much with the insurgents, though, that didn't really occur to me until just now. These guys are all going to be in here. The VC is available with Lansdale. They're the only ones getting an option on it. And we get Rockbarai as the next option. Now this is, again, this is something that's a VC good card. So the VC could say, hey, I don't want the Lansdale card, I want this one more maybe, and take an extra resource off of it. Remove all VC or non-troop NVA from a lowland with US troops. There aren't a lot of such situations, so I'm not too worried about the event being done on me. In a lowland with any VC, yeah, there aren't any of those. So I'm probably good passing on this and taking the turn now because it cycles me quicker. The thing is, I would probably be preventing someone else from getting an action if I passed now, but I'm kind of losing one myself that way. This one, well, this one says I could prevent U.S. assaults and increase patronage. That doesn't sound terribly useful. So I'm probably going to just take it for the full action because nobody gets a bonus off of it, and see what I can do with my VC. Okay, the VC undertook. Careful, see what's going on here. There's 6 here, 5. Okay. Undertook a rally action in order to build up a bunch more troops and also build themselves some bases in the other cities. And then they did subversion to add a couple more VC units where Arvin is. I'm not terribly thrilled with the idea of some of these bases are awfully exposed. I ended up gaining those through the action, right? I converted to get bases there, but I feel pretty weak with that. I think Arvin's probably going to try to wipe those suckers out. I did manage to take control of this away, and I also took a couple of Arvin units away with the replacement. I'm not sure I did this right last time, but that ended up reducing patronage and their victory points, I hope, correctly. Now we swing back in. This becomes available. Rural pressure. Onerous VC taxation shifts 4 provinces with VC each towards active support. Local government corruption shift 3 provinces with police each by 1 level towards active opposition. Patronage +6 or -6. This is an interesting option. The VC are the ones who are going to probably have the option at it, just because, well, let's see. Depends on what people want to do, but one of the insurgents gets first shot at it, and I doubt they're going to pass on that completely. Let's see. This one is not very interesting for the event. There's a good chance that we're going to see the 2 coin taking this one just for operations. Well, see, that's kind of, here's the problem. Let's say the US chooses to do the big option on this with the special ability. Okay, well, Arvin then only has the option of the event, which they're not terribly interested in, or a limited action, which they're probably not very interested in. They could pass and take 3 points, but that's also kind of crappy because their next card, they're probably not going to get either. So this is a bad combination for Arvin. They'll probably end up taking an operation. I don't know if this is going to ever make it to the review, this part, but there's something very intriguing that I see here about sort of the U.S. commitment in this game. So most games, both I've only experienced 2 Vietnam games, but the ones that I'm used to, the Carp game and the Poinski Hearts and Minds, which are both very good games. One reason why I kind of shied away from this is, hey, I got 2 good Vietnam games. What am I going to do? Well, I like Vietnam. I like Insurgencies as well. And this was so pretty and on sale. But most of them allow you this sort of min-maxing operation with the U.S. How much do you want to commit? The more you commit, the more it kind of negates some of your other factors, la la la. This one, that's in here to some extent with these tracks and the support here. But the other thing is the cards make more troops available in a way that doesn't really correspond with that same opportunity. This feels a little more natural. I don't feel like, in the sense that I feel like my troop availability and the effects on the populace, etc., are still being, at home, are still being reflected in the game, but I don't really have that ability to tinker and tweak and try to see if I can come up with the way. In the case of the Carp game, it would be like the only way to really do well in the game. Anyway, I got to think with the U.S. because we got to do something about those NVA troops. They're at a scary level of, it's not like the victory is all that close, but I can't let them steamroller this in any sense. I've got to make them pay for that offensive. I've noticed as I've been playing, I have a hard time kind of linking all the pieces together because I don't have really a rule book that links them. So all I have is the procedural player aids, and the rule book is just as procedural. Somebody pointed out one of the useful factors. When I said, hey, Arvin was being too lovey-dovey helping out the U.S. by governing or by training and doing pacification. The truth is, it does actually help them. They can do their governing based on that. But they only want to worry about a couple little areas in that case. The places that they have control over that are going to be kind of high pop locations, because they're going to have control over a couple of places no matter what. So, they may want someplace like Hugh, which I think I probably cheated in and governed when there wasn't support. Yeah. Oh, well. Alright. Every time there's just too many interlocking pieces for me. Same problem as in Sorcerer, actually. Okay, let's try to figure out what the hell the U.S. is doing. I tried before, trying to pay attention to other things while I play this, and that's almost impossible. So the U.S. did the big, they did a training operation in a number of places to bring Arvin up. Now then, in one coin-controlled train space, pay to pacify 1 to 2 levels, or if Saigon, well, I didn't do Saigon, but I could pacify. Shit, didn't do that. Those cost 4 each for everyone? Yeah. So, didn't want to do it there. I could do it here, though. How many spaces? In up to 1 coin controlled. I took control here. I counted that, I hope. God, I don't know. And this is going to be coin controlled. So this is going to cost me 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make it 8. I'm allowed to do it 2 levels. 1, 2, 3, 4. bring that up to double support. That gets me 4 more of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, assuming those are correct, you know. Then I did a huge airstrike over here, which increased the opposition there. That's, you know, the NVA is not doing very well, but I need to blow them up. I know that. I can't let them kind of, just because their victory points are low, I can't let them get a dominating position militarily. Plus, I'm also scoring a lot of points here. Now, this has swung to coin control after that airstrike, which gives 2 more points to him, putting him again in a dangerous, good position. Now, Arvin and the NVA have the choice of taking the event or a limited op. Now, I don't like limited ops. Unless, you know, you're facing the coup card, I almost never want to take them. Remove all VC or all non-troop NVA from a lowland with U.S. troops. There aren't any. There's no troops here. Shit. Okay. So there pretty much is no real good choice for that. So the event just doesn't please me. The problem is Arvin is not going to get this event if they pass. So I think they're going to do a limited op here. Limited op, all Arvin can do is one place. They did a sweep here in Queenan. Because the VC is sort of isolated there, I get to take 2 pieces down. Another alternative would have been to hit Saigon, but I feel like there's a heavy threat against Saigon already that I'm not able to kind of close things down. Here I can close things down and make life a lot harder on the VC if we get rid of that. Anyway, that just cost me 3. I can't do any special activities or anything. This comes through, this here. What's our card? 559th Transport Group. Okay. Well, depending on what happens, this may be available. Tough terrain. Degrade the trail by 2 boxes. Ooh. VC does not want to see that sucker happen, I don't think. Until coup, it's going to be a momentum with an infiltrate of maximum 1 space. The way through, the NVA free infiltrate. Then the NVA adds 3 times. And VC 2 times the trail value and resources. That sounds sweet. The NVA may want to actually pass to make sure they get that sucker. They don't like the idea of the U.S. getting it. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at the VC first. Shift 4 provinces with any VC each, 1 level towards active support. Well, I don't want to do that. Shift 3 provinces with police, each towards active opposition, and I can hit patronage. That sounds like a pretty good event. We're going to do that with our VC, the NVA. I get VC and NVA confused, but the NVA is still considering passing for this. Even though they'll get a full option on this, they like that card a lot. Plus, they can always use resources. Okay. So, shift 3 provinces with police, a level towards active opposition, patronage -6. I'll figure out which 3 provinces. I don't want to be babbling like this on the camera. So I marked the places where I did this, and they're all 2-point areas, increasing this one down here and over here. And there are police in all of them, and we can do some repression type stuff. Like I said, the VC is gonna, or the NVA is gonna pass so that they go up here, triggering this card up. And TF-116 Riverines, Delta boats, remove all NVA VC from Mekong LOCs. None are in there. I seem to be ignoring the roadways, and that's something I commonly do in these games. I'm not sure, I don't know, it's not like I like to sit on the roads too much in the carp game. US or Arvin free sweep into and then free assault in each lowland touching the Mekong. Wow. So that's pretty much everything down here. Would be able to be and then I'm allowed to actually do the sweep into as well. It's that or I have to look up to see if that goes both ways. VC river fortifications. Put 2 VC guerrillas per Mekong space. Oh, I forgot to move these guys into place. Then sabotage each that has more VC than coin. And that's for Mekong LOC. Well, that's an interesting card. Again, I'm not sure how much screwing with the VC trying to sabotage the economy is particularly going to work. There's so much aid and so much money in the Arvin treasuries that I don't feel like that's a real limiting factor right now. If I could get some cities, quite often Hugh is down by now under NVA control. I mean, after the Easter offensive, usually the NVA is, you know, if you're playing like Carp's game or whatever, is really heavily entrenched in this area and really problematic. We do have them in a powerful position here. This is actually under coin control now. I don't know what happened, but that's a 2-point space under coin control. Yeah, they don't have a lot of power anywhere. But they got, well, they got something interesting here. Alrighty. NVA took the event, and that got them some more troops. That wasn't such a big deal. But some cash, which they have a hard time getting, and they gave some VC cash, which is a little less of an issue. Then Arvin, well, they had done their sweep before, and I'm not sure what the hell the VC did. Did they take this thing? Yeah, they did this thing, and that's the problem why they're in that box. And they didn't protect Queenan, and you can see Arvin did assaults in 3 areas. I don't think there was anywhere else I could do them. Had a lot of money, so, you know. But then I did a govern here and here, which reduced the support. That's the main reason I was doing it, to get the US down in terms of their value. But it also got me some bonus patronage, which hopefully I actually recorded here. I'm not sure if I did. I recorded it here, so that'll be able to be fixed. As long as I remember to record it on the important box, this one, I'm okay. Aid and patronage are the 2 things that, and actual cash, that I have to get right, because everything else can be double checked. And I'm kind of learning that as I go. We go to the Riverines. The US is going to have the first shot at these, which the VC's kind of sad about. They kind of liked them. The US wants to make sure that the VC doesn't get that ability, I think, which means, well, we get a free lowland assault. That might be kind of cool. That only really helps these, so I don't think the US wants the event, but they don't want the event to happen, so they're probably going to take the op without special ability, which kind of means the VC is going to pass. And then we get body count, which Arvin gets first shot at. Well, was this a momentum ability? I thought it was. Yeah, not this side. Okay. Body count. Crossover point. Until coup, assault and patrol add 3 aid per guerrilla removed and cost 0. Wow, that's sweet. However, on the other side, if it's dead, it's VC. Place 1 VC guerrilla in each active opposition space. There are a decent amount of those. 2 NVA troops in each Laos Cambodia spot. That's something Arvin definitely doesn't want to see happen. So we kind of have this neat situation where the US and Arvin have the opportunity to control whether the event happens. The U.S. has so little in the way of troops actually involved in the conflict. They have their irregulars, but for the most part, they've got very few troops on the board. That the only thing that I could see doing is training. I'm doing a very minimalist U.S. intervention here, and I did training in a couple of places. Spent a lot of ARVN resources on this. Also brought in some of my irregulars up here because having them clustered seems like a kind of neat thing. And then I triggered one place down here for the pacification, paying $4 more for that, getting myself up to what is perhaps 51 points in the leadership area, just so that people kind of, you know, it keeps me close there. So if I get lucky, maybe I can get a win off the coup. That puts it to the VC, and the VC don't really want to do a limited op, but they don't really need a buck. And the problem is their next card they're not going to get anything for. So I got to figure out a limited op that works for them. Just a 1 space bonus, probably growing some troops or something. This wasn't a terribly easy decision to make. I'd love to start downgrading Saigon, because if I can get that out of support, I can start putting lots and lots of troops there. But that looks like a tough call. So instead, what I did, although I could grow a decent amount of troops here, instead what I did was I selected this for a rally, put a couple of pieces down. That helps protect this if there's a sweep or whatever. It's going to make it a little harder. I don't know, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, they could still wipe out the whole thing if they can do it a sweep and an assault before I get an action. That dumps our pieces, brings body count up. And now, play me. CIDG interdict NVA. Remove any 3 NVA pieces from a space with or adjacent to a coin base. That's pretty painful, actually. That could kill the base here or here. This doesn't restrict you to bases last or anything. Luckily, the VC get to go first on it. Tay Nguyen. NVA free march from any spaces outside South Vietnam, then free attack or ambush any one space. So I got a problem here. NVA does not want this card to be used by the coin forces, but they really kind of don't like the effect of body count if ARVN takes that. However, I don't really have much choice in that matter. If ARVN really wants that, they can have it. So I may end up passing because of that card. And that'll kind of screw the US actually a little bit. Colors were chosen, you know, with good historical reason behind them. The VC using the blue, the NVA obviously the red. The problem is, when you look at it with these cubes, it's very hard for me to kind of process sometimes what's going on here. I gotta say though, you know, with the insurgent type warfare, that's hard to process anyway, but that's another factor getting in the way of the kind of visualizing what's going on. You know, I find it tough enough in a game like Carp's Vietnam to visualize what's going on, but it doesn't have that added layer of all this worrying about the cards and the operations and everything. Although I have to say it does become a little bit more difficult because of the interactive nature of the sequence of play. And honestly, there's no way around, you know, some of the difficulties. It may just be that coin operations are much harder for me to grasp. Certainly they seem harder for the U.S. military to grasp, no? But ARVN did some sweeps. You can see they've driven the ARVN value below econ, which means U.S. isn't going to be able to use ARVN forces anywhere near as effectively, and most importantly, they're not going to be able to spend the resources anymore. The sweep revealed some things. This time I did remember to do the booby traps, and lost a couple of units due to that. The VC, or the NVA, decided to pass, take some cash. They're really interested in this card, and chances are the VC will not use their action for this. I was denied the body count. All I had was a limited op there available. So this is going to kind of screw the US. But the next card is one the US probably wants. Let's see. Wild Weasels. Remove shaded SA2s, or if no shaded SA2s, degrade the tail by 2 boxes and NVA resources down 9. Oh, shit. Well, not much I can do about this unless I could trump in. And even the VC, I think, can't. They're the only one who could trump in. They need 20 or more gorillas, and I'm pretty sure they don't have that. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 now. So, on to Play Me. This was kind of a weird situation where the VC the NVA used the event, so the VC would have a chance to use the action. Otherwise, there's a good chance the VC wouldn't have gotten a turn next time. So I wanted to give them the full action. And the event wasn't a bad one. I was able to march in take Nam, Kinganga, and Zuyan, and I did end up, though, leaving Quang Tin. And then for the VC, they did a combination of rally, where they actually turned units face down over here and added some units here, and then also did the subversion of Arvin, improving their size. I could have rallied here, or really just about anywhere. You don't need VC units to rally. It's anywhere without support. So I could have like shown up here or something. I just don't see too much value to that. I like the idea of being up here. I like the idea of being in the city. Getting into Saigon is one of my big goals, but I can't do anything too exciting there because of the coin control. I'm going to have to basically march all these guys in, take the coin control away from them, and then, well, I would be allowed to do an ambush here as well if I do that. I've got such a large force ready to take over Saigon, and that's a huge swing. I'm not too worried, though, about the coin right now. It's the US I'm not sure how to cope with. And in fact, everybody, even the Arvin, is very worried about them. So Wild Weasels is going to be available. We get to Walt Rostow. Coin portfolio. Place 2 Arvin pieces from anywhere, even out of play, into coin control spaces. That seems pretty weak. The enemy owns the night. Place any 1 guerrilla in each province with Arvin. Arvin troops redeploy as if no bases. That one I'm going to have to look up, because I don't understand what that last sentence means. Any 2 pieces could be bases. That could be very powerful, actually. That's not as weak as I think. I didn't read that. Redeploy is once and immediate. Arvin troops depart all provinces and lines of communications for cities with no NVA control or Saigon. Yeah, so that would clear what? Everything out? No, just their troops. There's yellow squares. But that's actually a pretty potent opportunity too. I'm just not sure. Yeah, if coin was close to winning, boom, they're down, and they've got a lot of work to do again to maybe obtain control. But as of right now, I'm not so sure that's terribly valuable, especially if it means lots of troops showing up in Saigon all at once. On the other hand, Arvin gets first shot at that sucker. If they pass on this one, they may want this just to be able to slap down a couple of bases. Are their bases terribly valuable? They are if the U.S. doesn't have many bases. ARVN bases allow me centers that I can kind of redeploy to, among other things. But also when I do training, I believe, requires a base, if that's what I want to do. It's going to be hard to operate if the U.S. continues not to have many bases on the board. They've got a lot of bases. They don't have a lot of troops on the board, so yeah. The U.S. took the Wild Weasels event and hammered the NVA, trail down, resources down. Great. That leaves ARVN with two choices. One is they can go for this event next time, and that kind of hurts someone else, which is nice. They could get 3 more ARVN resources. But the other option is to take the full move here. Now, the full move doesn't feel good, in the sense that I've got very little I can do. I could make an assault and destroy some of these things, and then maybe govern. No, I can't govern if I do the assault. That's the problem. Governing is important to me because I want to knock down the damn U.S. support, which I can do here. It's coin control. It's got troops and police. Oh no, that's something else, right? No, I don't need the troops and police. It just has to be coin-controlled spaces with support. I may want to train in order to upgrade the support level somewhere, and then do the penalizing. And this looks like maybe the best place to do it. Okay, so I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to drop a train in here. That's going to cost us 3 resources if we place ARVN. I mean, I don't know if I can do it without, I guess I can do it without placing any. And then pay $8 to move this up 2 spaces. Now that's going to remove 2 from the VC. But now, it also increases the US. But then when I do the govern action there, and I can do this in 2 spaces, that's going to reduce this, so we're not going to increase them. And I'm going to take 2 aid go to patronage for that. And then I'm going to do the same over here. And again, I don't have to pay for this. Now, the question is, did I want more troops on the board? It's going to cost me $3 to drop the troops there, and I don't think I terribly want to. There's other places where maybe I do, however. Aid goes to patronage here. If I do this, and that's going to be only worth 1, 1, 1. Oh, oops, I forgot to drop aid. Alright. I've got the big question of, do I need to throw more stuff? I think I do. I think I need to throw more stuff here into Saigon. 4, 5, 6. Just throw some more cubes in. Oh, and that's the secondary here. These bump, this goes. This comes over, and we get Operation Attleboro. Stab at Iron Triangle. U.S. free air lifts into, sweeps in, and then assault a space with a tunnel. Removing the tunneled bases as if there's no tunnel. Well, there's a lot of shit there. So that's going to be hard to actually activate. And that's the only tunneled space. The other side, have a casualties, few results. Select a tunnel space. Remove a die roll of U.S. troops within a space of that for casualties. But there are no U.S. troops. Well, there's one here. So that event is probably not too useful as an event. Here's the problem, and this would happen in a real game too. I knew there was an issue with letting the enemy get this, letting the VC or NVA get it, but was so convinced that I'm not interested in the main event. Yeah, but I ended up taking the Arvin action instead, and now the NVA or the VC is everywhere because they've moved in everywhere Arvin is, and Arvin's got to pull all their troops out of those locations and go elsewhere. Unfortunately, the NVA has no money and can't really do any major action, so I'm going to do a pass and get a buck. I'm a shorter chance to do something here, which may again be a pass, because I beat out Arvin there. And now, and Attleboro is probably a no event for anyone. Da Nang! U.S. Marines arrive. U.S. places up to 6 troops in Da Nang, up to 3 from out of play. Where is Da Nang? Oh boy. Oh, it's the city. Okay. Yeah. VC closes airbase. Remove all support within 1 space of Da Nang. No airstrikes until coup. And that's a momentum event. That's kind of powerful. Airstrikes are really a danger to the NVA, at least. They may want to play that event if the U.S. refuses it. Are they allowed to remove all support within a space of Da Nang? Well, there's no support there. Money causes the first 2 people to pass there. U.S. gives Arvin $3. Well, great. Arvin then goes and spends that on a training mission over here, where they don't do anything. They just pacify to raise the 2-point area up. And then they ended up hitting a couple of places which had some support and driving their patronage up. And they're running their own way up towards the victory level. But basically nobody can do anything because there's no money left. Arvin's out of cash. The U.S., why did they pass? They just don't have many troops. So it's very hard for anybody to be doing anything at this point in the game. And this was really an iffy decision for the NVA to pass for their buck. But they had so little they could do with it. They could have done an artillery bombardment and maybe, I don't know, you know, well, they could have done an attack or something. But they only could do 1 space hitting. So the pass seemed more valuable. They're not going to be able to up the trail or anything useful there. So Da Nang comes into play, available here as we get the VC, who will get an operation. And they still have decent money. They're kind of the dangerous ones. Search and destroy. Mobile counter guerrilla ops. Each U.S. assault space may remove 1 underground guerrilla. That is a nice capability. Do I want to pass on Da Nang and the importation of additional troops for that capability? On the other side, villagers in the crossfire. Each U.S. and Arvin assault province shifts by 1 level toward active opposition, which means anytime we're attacking, we're going to start creating opposition. Now, I almost think I can't take Da Nang because I need to make sure to prevent that. Even Arvin isn't terribly interested in protecting that event from happening because they don't really care too much about the support levels. That Da Nang card, the U.S. opens up by passing because they want the search and destroy card, or they want control over it one way or another. VC is next, and I think they did something kind of stupid. They did an assault and an ambush and killed themselves a couple of U.S. bases with the ambushes. Those allow you to attack as follows. Only activate guerrilla, remove only 1 enemy. It doesn't specify bases last or anything like that, like usually, so I was able to wipe those out. And then the NVA took the Da Nang event because their choices were pass for a buck, have a very weak limited action, which they could have done. Or the Danang does one cool thing. It prevents any U.S. airstrikes. That's pretty sweet. So search and destroy will come here. This come. And we're probably going to see a coup soon. I don't know when. Tam Chao, Catholic backlash. Shift Saigon one level towards passive support. That's kind of a, not directly in anybody's favor, almost like neutral. Saigon Buddhists find leader when it increases patronage heavily. So this is a worrisome thing. There is a very good chance that Arvin does not want to play in this next event because they get this one guaranteed. Place one VC piece and shift Saigon one level towards passive opposition. Patronage -6. Yeah, this is something Arvin badly wants. Might be enough to push them well, 6 extra is going to push them up into here, so I'll make sure that they're correct there, but I think they are. And yeah, so here we're just going to see the U.S. go. And do they want the event particularly? The ability to knock out an extra underground guerrilla. So the problem with this is it's a capability that helps you if you've got a lot of troops, if you're doing assaults. They haven't been doing that. They've been kind of trying to keep their commitment low because that gives them a chance of winning the game. Personally, I think the U.S. is, maybe this is a little naive, but the U.S. is very much penalized for bringing troops in. They're not trying to win the war. They're trying to win the hearts and minds without committing troops. And while that may be a believable strategy, that doesn't feel at all historical. And I have kind of this, is it a viable strategy to try to play historically as the U.S. and come in with a big wave to begin with and really try to fight the war initially? As it is, though, this current strategy is already beginning to snowball in terms of the insurrectionists being getting too powerful, and it looks kind of scary in the long run. Maybe not so much with the NVA because they have no economy and they have real trouble building it up. There was a point where it looked like they might get really potent and they got hit. And now it looks like the VC is the dangerous person. But you can't neglect that there's two people kicking around right near victory and they're kind of struggling with each other. I guess if they came to some kind of agreement not to try for victory early on, but to just try to really nuke the opposition as much as possible early in the game and then turn around to win, that would maybe cause the type of historical situation. The only problem is I think that would actually be effective. What wouldn't be effective is some sort of middle-of-the-road strategy where you bring a lot of troops in, but not all of them. You're not trying to win, but you're also not trying to completely eliminate the enemy with all possible force. And that just sounds horrible, and that actually sounds very close to, what the actual strategies were. The victory conditions feel very strange in this. So the U.S. actually picked up the search and destroy capability. This was a hard call, but they have so little that they can do without there being a lot of Arvin money kicking around. So far in the game, they've been able to maybe achieve the success that they've had because there's always been a lot of Arvin money above the economy. But now Arvin ruined that cash cow. And I feel like I do have to actually commit troops at some point, and this is going to help. The main reason there is I don't think I can get myself over the hump. Arvin's almost intrinsically capable of defeating me from winning the war by skimming some money off the top, right? That reduces the support, and I just can't get it to where the support's high enough. If I could withdraw a bunch of troops or maybe get guys into the available box all at once, that would help. But I don't have that kind of capability like you do in a distant plane. So I don't have a way to bail out quickly. And if that's the case, well, things are beginning to look bad in terms of the insurgents, so I think I have to work towards them. Arvin themselves is going to pass because they're very interested in the Tam Chow card, so they actually generate themselves some cash there. That goes forward. And we get Masher White Wing. Sweep flushes enemy into kill zone. US or Arvin free sweeps one non-jungle space with US and Arvin troops. They're free assault as US. They free assault as US. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. I probably have to look that up. I don't think it means that they're equivalent to US troops. I think it just means you don't pay the penalty. Poor OPSEC, VC and NVA, free march guerrillas to any 3 spaces and then free ambush in each. That could be quite potent as well. So Arvin is probably going to want to take the card they passed for, but and the VC may have to go because they're not, or the NVA may have to go because they're probably not going to get a shot at this one. Okay, and here we are. Arvin fired off Tam Chow, I believe, which gave reduced Saigon and thus dropped the US support level so that they're not really in danger of winning, but gave me 6 patronage, which pumped this up. Now, if this card was waiting just before a coup card, hey, it's all over, right? This is kind of the danger of the coin system when players are going to all be kind of playing right near, or when some of the players are going to be playing right near the victory level. So Andean Abyss kind of has this because you're often within striking range if things kind of luck out. People really have to work to keep others away from that. Now, it's hard for the VC and the NVA, who are, you know, far from their victory conditions, to knock down the coin and the US. The coin and the US have some ability to hurt each other, though, as we just saw here, but normally the coin has an ability to hurt the US. The US a little less ability to hurt the Arvin force, from what I've seen. They don't really have... they have some ability to cut into the patronage, though, which I think is really where the struggle is going to be in the early game among capable people to prevent something like this from causing a possible automatic victory. For the NVA, they actually took their action this time. They spent their 2 big bucks to march back into Cambodia and Laos. The idea here being they're going to try to build bases there and get themselves some income, because honestly they probably did the Easter offensive too early. And they also did a bombardment. Now, they couldn't bombard the US forces. They're near US troops. Here, not so much here, but they could have maybe moved into here. There are no US troops there. But they need a troop concentration of at least 3 units to even fire on something, right? Yeah, at least 3 US or Arvin troops. Or a base. Oh, well, wait a minute. I could have bombarded this space, but I wouldn't have gotten in any better situation. I could have thrown some troops back here. I'm okay with my troops here. They're threatening Da Nang. And it would have been nice to be able to blow up some US forces, put them in the casualties marker. But right now my worry is actually the Arvin. It's just there weren't many other options that I have. I could pass and take a buck again, and then I'd be up to 3 bucks and, you know, maybe raise the trail so I get a couple extra bucks next turn. But I'm hoping that I can raise some more money and get a couple more bases into Cambodia and Laos here. Now, I looked up Masher White Wing, and indeed, those ARVN troops are working just like their U.S. forces for that. So that's a very powerful option. And that is why, no matter what, the VC, we're going to not go on the last card. They actually did a pass, and should have gotten a buck for it that I don't think I gave them. I'm not positive. Okay. Well, I've got a mark down there. I bet you I did. Okay. So that's going to move here. And now it's coup card time. And this is dangerous, because we got to make sure that ARVN doesn't keep that position into the coup card. An issue I brought up over on the game box, my forum, not just mine, but anyway, about victory conditions, kind of, you know, when you're tracking them, kind of losing control of them, maybe because you forgot a rule or for some other reason. It came up in Assyrian Wars, and then I started discussing it with this because I could see it as a possibility. Seems to have happened here in the middle of the Masher White Wing, as I started firing that event off, saying, hey, the VC can kind of trigger and knock the coin value down a little bit. Well, I did a recount, and even after knocking them down 4 points, they're up here at 52, which means the U.S. has to try to figure out some way to drop them down. They have a double action. Otherwise, you know, they don't win the game, even if the ARVN forces do. And the only way I'm going to be able to do this is to leave areas, I think. This isn't coin controlled. There's 2 more points. Alright, the US doesn't have to. However, if the US doesn't have to, I screwed up, because I want to hit another US base in that case. Which means, instead of this, I am going to essentially do a move action and shoot this base. And that means there is enough control here that they're up. Huh. Oh, there's coin control in these spaces. Oh, son of a bitch. I can't keep track of anything in this game, can I? That's 2 more, so no, I can't afford to do what I just did. Let's go back here, and that takes this one away, I guess. And that takes 1 coin. So I've got to come up with a way to get rid of 2 points of coin control, I guess. I'll have to count again, right? You know, 1, 2, I hate doing this, 8, and it's constant. 9, it's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 points, 52. Good. The counting involved here as you get near a scoring point or whatever, or if you're worried about a scoring point, is so continuous because you do fall behind all the time in terms of keeping the tracking, if you're me at least, that it's almost, okay, it's not on the same level, but it's almost as annoying as doing any given turn of dominant species, which is a game where the primary goal of the game seems to be how aware are you of the board state, you know? So if you want to do well, you count continuously. Here, you don't have to get it right all the time, I guess. But I had it wrong, at least according to that fixed point. Maybe I had to count everyone else. Maybe somebody else is in the win here. I don't know. But I'm going to have to do something probably to evacuate coin-controlled areas by the U.S. and get them out of there so that ARVN can't win. And it's so easy to prevent someone, right? If you're their ally, you can just you can do things to trash them. Okay, so the U.S. operation was a sweep, I believe. I don't remember. It was the only thing that let me move out, and I can't move these guys out, the irregular forces, because those are like you know, native troops and stuff. They don't move very easily, which kind of makes it suck that I have so many in one place. I don't know why I did that. But I swept out of here into here, and out of here into here with troops. All very effective. And then I did the advise action, because I can't actually do airlifts or airstrikes as effectively. Airstrikes are just canceled out because of Da Nang. And airlifts, well, I guess I could have airlifted a bunch of troops out to do an assault somewhere. That might have been a more valuable use, actually. But I can only move among 2 spaces. So I wouldn't be able to shift a big force anywhere. I could have moved these irregulars, though, out. Okay. I'm not going to think too much about it. And here I activated an irregular to kill off a Viet Cong. But the more interesting place was down here in Saigon. I launched an ARVN attack against everything. Those were already open and available and viewable. But I can do that for free using advise. I couldn't do it for free with ARVN, for example. So, and now I'm going to grab 6 aid, pump my values up. I've got some problems because I took some significant casualties this time. And it's the end of our monsoon season. These guys swap for whatever it means, but we're in the coup round, and we just missed the victory here. Could I have engineered something with a little bit more points? I don't know. There weren't a lot of places where I had troops that could have moved. With the airlift, I could have pulled out of here, and that was not worth anything. No, out of here maybe. There was another point there, but I gave up these 2 points, and they were the only way I could do it. Oh, I hope I didn't do a march or anything, because that would have been illegal. I don't think I did. I used the event. So, we will finish up this, I guess this is the year 66. I want to point out how horribly things on the player aid card can be written. So, for example, under the ARVN assault, in this space remove one active enemy piece, troops, then guerrillas bases last. Tunnels on a 4 to 6, okay. Per 2 ARVN troops in jungle or lowland, 3 ARVN troops in highland, and any 2 ARVN cubes in city or LOC. It all makes sense once you know what it means. What it means is the troops in the normal lowlands, jungle, or highlands are the number of troop cubes that you have to get rid of one revealed enemy unit. But here you get to count both the police and the troops. It does make perfect sense, but when I read it the first time, it made no sense to me trying to piece that together. There's +6 aid per base removed. We didn't get that because this we didn't hit a base. We did hit a base, so I don't know if this actually was. I did an advise. And this says I can sweep in place or assault with ARVN at cost 0. I think because I did that, I'm going to get 6 more aid for that base, which chunks this up there. I'll look to make sure. So far, ARVN's been very helpful to the U.S. The U.S. had almost no ability to do any kind of propaganda, but it's not, I don't know what it's called here, support actions. But ARVN did quite a few in the cities. For example, Hugh, they got back up to 2 support, and elsewhere up points because they want to pad their patronage. Now, the question, of course, is does the U.S. want to commit troops? They took some more out of play, but some of the casualties are back here. They've actually gotten themselves so that they're pumped into the victory zone by some of not just what happened there, but there was the additional troops coming back pushed them in. They don't win. They have to be there at the beginning of the coup phase. And yes, I took this search and destroy, which allows me to get a bonus underground or guerrilla anytime I do an assault. Well, assaults are something I'm not liable to do much of if I don't have some troops on the ground. But I'm so close to winning. Here's the other thing. If I throw a lot of troops in, it becomes harder to prevent areas from being coin controlled. And they're so close to winning. The coup caused a lot of damage. You can see what the Arvin took from it. They're in a lot of pain there. I am so tempted not to bring troops in. It leaves me a little bit, you know, say here at other people's, in particular Arvin's, mercy. This is really, really tough. U.S. held off. Part of the reason, I don't know. I really don't know. But I just can't drop my victory points. You know, that's so against what I want to do. And it's not like I still don't feel this great threat. Now, that great threat may be there. Because take a look at where the VC are. But how easy is it to undo VC? Well, even if we get down to the economy, Arvin can throw points in to try to undo them. So I feel like by not being committed, I'm forcing my supposed ally, perhaps, to try to help a little bit more. I'm also not making it as likely for him to win by having pieces on the board that contribute to coin control. Yes, I have some flexibility in moving out of them, but I really don't want to be in a position where I'm wasting a turn to degrade my position, you know? The danger, though, is there's a lot of VC on the board, well enough to do a Tet offensive. This game might have been over if they had fired this off before the coup. They couldn't do it right before, though. Once it was up, they can't do it. The problem with it is, it says place any 6 VC pieces. Oh, any 6. That includes these suckers. Yeah, we may be seeing, we may well be seeing the Tet offensive hitting hard here. I'm not sure. It's hard to plan for because place any, first there's a free terror with 1 underground VC per space. I'm not really all that spread out, but terror is going to help bring where I've got support here, where I've got support that isn't completely in my favor, but a lot of VC, but some VC units. That's going to be the first thing that happens. So I get a few more victory points there, and I'm not all that far behind. The next is 6 VC pieces in any cities, and I've only got 3 of these, but I got a bunch of these, which are cool because they produce me money, and that would have been why I wanted to do it, except this is liable to destroy them if it's Tet, if it's really Tet. And then the VC plus NVA guerrillas get a free attack wherever there are enemies. Well, again, I'm not really in position. I've got a horde of troops here in Tainan. I want to move them somewhere like Saigon, but of course then they'll be doomed, right? Because they'll all be face up if they walk into Saigon. There's, you know, if they all walk anywhere, they're going to get face up. I can only infiltrate a few at a time, and this would have been a good point to say, have done the positioning for it just before the coup when they all flip over. But I believe I had things I needed to do at that point. Anyway, there we are. So I don't get confused. We have the same leadership here, the same wonderful leadership. I've got to turn up new cards. McNamara line. I didn't know they actually built this thing. Well, they built a limited one. It's so horrible in the carp game. Redeploy all coin forces outside Vietnam to coin-controlled cities. Arvin resources go down by 12. There's no infiltrate or trail improvement to rally until the coup. And then Operation Starlight. feels awfully late. Yeah, 65, definitely. Wow, the game doesn't take you all the way to 75, though, does it? I don't know. I don't know if they say what it is supposed to cover. I wish there was... Yeah, the last deck of cards is 68. I think it takes you to 69 or so, so it's not going to take you to the end of the war, either way. VC caught off guard. Remove all VC from a coastal province with or adjacent to U.S. troops. The lack of U.S. troops is really being a problem here. These are not troops. You know, I can hit something little. There's not much use to it for the U.S. there. And slipped away, and up to 3 provinces, flip all VC guerrillas underground. Stay eligible. All right. And we're going to load this one up. I know it's way longer than I like to make them, but maybe this next year will be shorter.